Welcome everyone to the MCOM Iron to Platinum playoffs here for Split 2. Excited to get into these semi-final matches. I'm Mercury, joined by Quicksand for our first match of this playoffs structure. Excited to see how these teams go. Storm Wolves versus Starcasters. Both these teams look primed and ready to go. What do you think?
Okay, so these guys, they've been playing pretty well through the tournament. We've had a chance to cover both of their teams on the stream, specifically Starcasters. I think we got a chance to hop onto once or twice. If you can tell today, I know it's a little bit out of character, but I am the color caster, so I thought I'd put on some safety glasses. It's kind of the best I got. I have my notepad here. I got a lot of good information to share with the stream, everybody. But yeah, look, both of these guys are really strong teams. Starcasters, in most games we've covered them in, they haven't been sweep wins. We've seen a lot of 2-0s, but the games haven't been completely out of control. So Starcasters facing up against the Stormwolves, I think, will lead to a very equal competition. We probably will see 3 games tonight. But right now, from what I've seen so far, I think the favorites are balancing towards the Starcasters for tonight. What about you? I know you haven't seen much of the tournament, but with the new item changes and all of that, things going to be thrown into shambles, hey?
Yeah, these new item changes across the world. We haven't seen any competition really from 13.10. We will see next week. Obviously, LPL, LCS, LCO even are beginning to start later on. But until then, a lot of these champions could have some of their builds switched up. You have to imagine, Samira, we haven't seen too much of, but I'm excited to see the on-hit changes. I'm a big Cogmore fan, so we'll have to see if maybe some of these teams cook up some of those compositions rather. I'm excited to see what else has changed since MSI, what teams will continue to showcase from that sort of meta that we've seen.
Yeah, that's right. Look, there's been heaps of changes as well. I think the biggest thing that points towards, for me at least, with being crazy changes, is the AD role and the assassin role. The AD role, because the assassin role got buffed, and a couple other item changes. So my eyebrow's scratchy, but the glass is in the way. So this is a struggle. You got to go through this every day. Hey, Mercury?
Yeah, it is a bit of a struggle, I have to say.
Anyways, back to the items. So we're into the draft, which is cool. So we can talk about this while our draft goes through. We see in AD, Stormrazor is literally being the first item picked 100% of the time. Maybe like one little discrepancy, but the first item being built is Stormrazor every single time. And then, hold on, let me just refer to my notes here. That's right, Yomu's is being picked by every single assassin, and then being paired with Prowlers because it's the most insane, juicy combo of all time. And then when I play AD, I don't get to play the game. So, real good update coming out so far.
It's just the way it goes sometimes. I do love those assassin metas from time to time, but as we see here, Zed's going to get removed, so one of those off the board. I imagine maybe Talon, if we have some quite talented mid laners, could potentially see play here. Karthus, Ezreal, Lissandra, the other bands on the other side, but Aatrox here as the first lock-in. Bit interesting to see.
Yeah.
Hasn't been a champion too impacted by these changes at all. Never mind, it's the Melio coming right off the bench from MSI. We'll have to see exactly what it can do, and especially with Echoes of Helia, I love that item working with it because I believe it procs every single tick of his W. So we'll have to see.
You're gonna have to dive into that item a little bit more. I don't know. I know there was a million different support item changes that I did not keep up with. So, Mercury, you're gonna have to help me out here. So, maybe I'm kind of putting you on the spot. But do you know what changes happened with that item and how Melio procs it?
Yeah, so essentially it's a new item, and what it does is it's very similar to a Themes. If you remember from way back when, back in the ye old days of League, the more you heal, it stacks up, and then I believe it sends off a bit of damage once you've gotten a few stacks. Melio's W, because it heals every single second, pretty much, I believe it permanently stacks that up to its max. I could be 100% wrong, but that's what Freak said in the patch rundown, so I'm gonna go off his wisdom in that regard. And especially paired with the Jinx, you've got the Lempo, you've got the W giving extra range as well. I don't see a world that this Jinx Melio bot lane can really lose these trades, even against Zyra Khan, as we see Ornn is going to be the third lock-in. A very strong composition beginning to be rounded out here.
Hey, and that's the thing, right? With the new Storm Razor and the new Energized items coming in, RFC is back in the meta, especially for, I think, a Jinx at least, which is something I've been building a lot. So, Milio, Jinx Q, RFC, get excited, lethal tempo. My God, it's disgusting. I can't wait to watch this game being played from 3 screens away while our observer tries their best to stay on these guys. While Zyrakan still just being such a good staple, we are looking at Iron to Plat though, which does have one essential difference is, again, no disrespect to these guys. Everyone here is Platinum, now encroaching on Diamond and learning the game, but there is a skill difference between what we see being played in Pro and being played now. And Xayah, the one great thing she has is she can peel herself by pressing R or pressing E and sucking in those feathers. A lot of self-peel is something that is, take it from a guy who's like hard stuck bronze, is you need feathers, you need peel to be able to get out of these engagements because again your team struggles to peel you as much and your positioning as well isn't that good.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that can be very heavily punished here by this Ornn pick. We see Wukong, Victor, and the Gragas going to be taken away. We definitely saw a fair amount of Wukong and Gragas, especially in recent, months, considering MSI and the lead up to it from Pro Play. And we know probably these players are watching that for inspiration. As Kha'Zix's another ban, we'll have to see exactly how well this Xayah can keep themselves safe, especially against, we've all seen the Jinxes that just act like Arcane. They just shoot off a million rockets. They've got Runans, they've got Lethal Tempo fully stacked up, and they just carry the fights. With the backup, especially of the Milio, with the ultimate, with the cleanse that provides against some of the CC that the other team has at their disposal, could be something that potentially takes over. But this is looking like a very, very base draft here coming in for this blue side.
Base to draft. Hey, that's a good way to describe it, man. Jarvan coming through as well. It is okay. Here's something that I actually made a big mistake in a while ago. I think I was play-by-playing, and Xayah didn't go over the wall using her ult when Jarvan cataclysms. So that's his ult as well when he gets his little dirt cages up. Okay, even though she jumps up in the air and flies using her wings that she's born with, she actually can't go over the giant dirt wall that's been built by Jarvan. So keep that in mind. That's a really important thing to point out. It's broken my heart plenty of times to watch it. Cass is the 5th pick for Easy Life, which is, I love seeing a Cass in a game, bro. They're so much fun.
Ooh. And this could be a very interesting R5 here, the Cho'Gath as well. A very low range composition. And we will see the Syndra instead, which I believe is probably for the best. A low range composition into a Jinx that can just free hit sounds like a recipe for disaster, to say the very least. But the team compositions have rounded out here as we wait for the teams to sort of get their bearings, get situated, get all those runes and all that together. But honestly, the draft looks pretty even across the board.
Yeah, look, I'm going to throw it out here as well. On the blue side, by the way, we do have the Starcasters for fairly short from memory. And then on the red side, we do have Stormwolves. Right now, Stormwolves, their draft is pretty much based around diving the enemy opposition. Siege is good, fights are good, but Volibear, Hecarim with Syndra stun, and then Rakan being able to come and dive under the tower. If you are under the tower and you're on low health, this team is your worst nightmare. Well, it's a base, pro, good composition from the side of Starcasters. It's hard to go wrong. Jarvan engages. It's hard to get away for anybody else. And it just, hey, by the way, place your bets if you haven't yet. I was on a 0 points. So I made a lot of money in my bets the other night. I think I went from 5,000 to 10,000 M coins. So make sure you put in your very responsible investments this game. I know I'll be putting mine in. So right now, I'm kind of leaning towards the side of Stormwolves just because they have a funnier draft. And I think it'll be more fun to watch. What about you?
I mean, honestly, I'm looking towards this Jinx and the Milio, especially with the Ornn backing it up. I think that this composition has a lot of strength to work around. I don't really see too much value in this Volibear, but I mean, if they can stop that dive right where it is, they've got the W from Rakan, they've got the self peel that you mentioned from the Xayah. Scatter the Weak is always useful in those sorts of situations. I could see a world in which these team fights don't go in STARCASTER's favor.
Yeah, look, it's a hard one to break down, but overall, so are you putting that in the favor of STORMWOLVES to win this game?
I think I am. I think I'm going to put it in favor of STORMWOLVES.
Yeah, okay. I think that's both of us on STORMWOLVES then. It's time for you to place down your predictions. And yeah, I mean, I think we're just about ready to jump into the game. So we'll go to a quick break, and I guess we'll pop through and see you guys on the other side.
And welcome back, everyone, to the MCOM Iron to Plat playoffs. Ready for game 1 between STORMWOLVES and STARCASTERS. Already a little bit of action to start things off. Nothing too painful. Just a little bit of a love tap there in the mid lane. Team compositions just about ready to go. Taking their positions. No dance battles this time around. But maybe we'll see that further in the series.
Important to remind you as well, STARCASTERS are on the blue side, as well as STORMWOLVES sitting on the red side. It's going to be a doozy of a game. As we start loading in, like you said, I'm not going to see any action through invades to start the game off. But I think if at the moment we're sighting in, I want everyone to keep their eyes on both the junglers, because that's where a lot of the action is going to come from. I'm expecting to see a really early gank from Jarvan as well as Hecarim. I mean, I remember my last solo queue game, bro. Level 1 ganked by Hecarim. Had the worst time of my life. So, and Hecarim's starting Raptors as well. So he'll be able to slide through pretty quickly and get to an early gank as soon as he can.
Yeah, doesn't even need that leash at this point. Gives a bit of freedom and a bit of ambiguity to where that first gank will be coming from. And where that first start is as well. But the minions have begun to crash, and already let's see possibly a little bit more trading in towards mid lane. A little bit of mana missing there for easy life. Playing things safe though, no over aggression early on, waiting for those level 2s in the bot lane as well.
Yeah, that's right. Xayah has brought herself a cull as well. So even though Rakan has that ability to get the level 2 and get the level up, it probably will be more of a passive lane coming out from her, just looking to get the get the gold, get the cull procs, and then scale. With the bonus little gold that she gets from her cull, she'll be able to throw a whole extra 350 gold the moment she finishes stacking it. Just a really great way to set yourself ahead of the Jinx, especially if you can see us above her, because Jinx Milio lane is pretty much poke hell.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something we've seen a fair amount around the world recently as well, is that cull start. Playing for that mid game, getting that huge gold investment just when you need it, really.
I was also really surprised not to see any assassins come out this game, though there were heaps of them banned out. They're so disgusting right now. We saw the Kha'Zix ban come out, thank God, because Kha'Zix, who has kind of been floating around the meta, has finally found himself a stable spot after the new item changes come in.
Ooh.
He's just so disgusting, man. And
that was dirty. Tempest just walked in and stole the blue buff. Just like that, it's a bit of a daylight robbery there.
A dive in as a blue buff is stolen, and we're probably going to see Hecarim now pathing his way towards the bot side if he gets a chance, or a mid lane gank. I can't tell you I know too much about what's going on here in the mid lane at the very least, is that Cassiopeia matchup into a control mage like Syndra means that she has the ability to make herself a lot of space, but she also doesn't have that much mobility. And we see Cassiopeia, she does so well at rooting the opponents. And look at that, already trying to lock down Driller here.
Yeah, Driller could be in a little bit of trouble. Easy Life is there, has the Conqueror fully stacked and available, but forces the Ghost out and should be fine. Otherwise, gone back to the lane there for Karina as well. Bit of trade in the top lane as we see both down to about half health, but again, nothing too major to start things off. Taking it slow and steady to win this race.
And like I said, we saw it there, is Cassiopeia is so good at shutting down those mobile champions. We'll see people like Volibear, anyone else with a dash like Rakan won't be able to use those movements that shoot them off the ground if a good Venom pile comes out from the Cassiopeia. Though it doesn't really matter. Walking up into the Syndra here, she can, I mean, she has the ability to stun, has no mobility. She should just be controlling the lane here. As we can see, her sitting up in CS has the wave. It's a pretty chill lane here in the mid lane.
Yeah, a little bit of a CS lead in that bot lane and in the jungle as well. 2 camps ahead there. As we see, Dark on back now does have that cull available as well. Recall will be achieved, making usage of that quite nice Zyra Khan passive there. Few items, but not close enough towards these mythics just yet. I haven't seen any of those, you know, crazy 5-minute mythics that you see all about on Reddit.
Wait, sorry, what's this 5-minute mythics?
Oh yeah, it is. It's a bit of a lot.
So, again, we kind of had a chance to discuss some of the item changes earlier, but the biggest one that I pointed out before, and I'll bring it up again, is the fact that in the bot lane, we see items like Kraken Slayer and Shield Bow both being demoted down to normal legendary items, while we get items promoted to mythic, like we saw Gwynsu's getting put up, and we also saw Infinity Edge getting put up. So the fact that something like Shield Bow, which is so essential to so many players' kits, is now something that anyone can build as long with their mythic, makes a huge change, especially to those crit champions, where normally Kraken Slayer and IE was their main go-to build, and it still is, but we're seeing Storm Razor being thrown into the build along with that IE as the next mythic built in.
Yeah, absolutely, and it honestly puts a bit of build paths in that sort of murky area as well, you know. Some champions may just still rush Gale Force. You know, they may delay their mythic to maybe get that Eye Edge second, or who knows, maybe they could get it third at this point, especially if you're talking about someone like Jinx, who really values the utility that something like Runan's provides.
Now, taking a look towards the dragon, Hecarim almost goes down as they pick up the first Chemtech Dragon of the game. Firing off the Chemtech Rift as Infernal Soul is the next contender on the list. We won't be seeing either of those as the Soul today, as Tempest tries to set himself up in a good position for a gank, and we haven't really seen either of these guys have a chance to go in just yet. A fairly passive start from both of our junglers, an unexpected start for both of them, but as soon as level 6 hits, I think we're going to start seeing a whole lot more action.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Tempest just saying a bit of a howdy-do there in the bot lane, just scaring him off a little bit, giving a little bit of extra support towards this scaling lane. Cletus in the top lane continues to get pushed in, down about 20 CS now. Underneath the tower, could be a bit of trouble, forced off for the time being, but the Call of the Forge God might be enough to close this kill out. Still at half health though. Tempest is on the way and forced to retreat to safety. But big trades here in this top lane. That's the Flash forced out as well, and may have to TP back relatively soon.
They're both going to stay in the top lane as we see the Freljordian gods still deciding that they want to keep up their farm. And with both of their ultimates burnt, I was really surprised to see Cletus not go down in that fight. Tempest was there to back it up, and I think we had a call probably coming through the top that he needed to disengage. And a good call at that. As now we see Driller. He wants to come here on easy life.
A good flash on the Petrifying Gaze will get that first blood locked down nice and easy with the Cataclysm there. Easy Life picking that one up. Has the Giant's Belt rush, so going for the Rylai's first, you have to imagine. Has a bit of overextension there without the proper follow-up. That didn't have the room for the ultimate there for Karina exactly available, and that gives a lot of pressure towards this top side now. TP forced back from top here. So it will just pretty likely be this Rift Herald picked up early. No contest there from Driller, but a bit of pushing forward from the solo lanes to maybe scare them off a little bit.
Yeah, really interesting contestation here, not having the jungler on their back foot. We look to the bot lane though.
Yeah, a little bit of an engage going in, the Feather Storm as well, and Dark is in a bit of trouble. Almost locks to there towards that tower, falling on down, but will manage to live to tell the tale. And I mean, that's what happens when you are in that 1v2 lane. There are a lot of utility burned in that engage, though, the quickness as well as the exhaust. And another kill on the board already. 9 minutes in, and we can see the shard has been picked up. Noon Quiver as well for this Xayah, continuing to scale and looking quite lethal already.
Yeah, that's right. Not only the Noon Quiver picked up by Jinx and Xayah, they both finally got their hands on their Energizer item, which is going to be that shard building into what we assume to be our... it's on my mind, sorry. The Storm Razor. And also important to point out that Jinx has taken into her own liberty, picking up a Cull as well, while Rylai's finally coming into the hands of Casp. She's going to be able to slow this Syndra down to the point where she cannot move and then get a big lockdown. That kill from the gank earlier, Tempest did a really, really good job at setting that up. And neither jungler really seems like they're going for any rushed or risky plays. Both just trying to keep their CS up with the rest of the game. And that way, when they do need to gank, they'll be able to make a successful one. Yet to see Driller make a contribution of that level.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is sort of, typical from that first game of the series, not wanting to make too many mistakes just yet, trying to, feel out the strategies of the other team and see where they lead. A bit of a push in towards this bot lane as small trade, therefore Karina in mid, continuing to stack up that passive, and, it always is a bit scary to see those fed Syndras play out, and especially against a composition that has to dive into you. Having that QE combo can be so incredibly potent in those fights.
And we kind of had a chance to see how bad some of these dive comps are going to be. Well, like bad, I mean like as in bad for the other team, is Stormwolves being able to dive onto the tower is such a strong force. Top, he managed to bring out the Stormbringer, but he obviously he couldn't finish the kill because Tempest was coming up the river to kill him as well. But that's kind of just a taste of the composition. To be able to do that against an Ornn really shows that not only is Stormbringer one of the best diving ults in the game, but to be paired with what we've seen from Karina already, be able to use Scourge of the Weak to... Scatter of the Weak. Tempest here coming in for a fight though.
Well, the Forge God, that's just going to be the kill. Instantly locked up there for Easy Life. Bit of a potential fight back there as Karina will be forced off for the time being. Flag and Drag finds that double kill secured. And that will just be the Dragon on the board there for the side of Starcasters. Immediately TP's top as well, but even still, despite that, 600 gold lead for the side of Stormwolves, and mainly the CS. You see this from the top lane, you see it from mid and bot as well, as looks like top is going to try and find that dive once again, but Cletus stalling him once again, the knock-up, and may have a bit of trouble on their hands. Brittle as well buys a bit of time, so incredibly low here, and no minions, has to back up. The second tower shot might be enough, and Cletus comes out on top in the demigod battle. And even with the Heartsteel, even with the ultimate, what an incredible outplay there from this Ornn.
Look, man, Top ran into a series of unfortunate events. He might as well change his name to Lemony Snicket with the case that turned out, because he walked up, went for the dive, used Stormbringer, disabled the tower, had so much health that it felt like Cletus couldn't take him down, but then decided to try and disengage, engage again to where he gets knocked up, doesn't get the last hit that he needs to on Cletus, and as he tries to run away because he realizes he was dead, was the fact that the minion stood in the way and he couldn't walk out, and he died because of it.
Bit of a tragedy to say the very least here, as that will be the cull completed for Lockster. Already has the Storm Razor, both of these AD carries do. There's a few other items are beginning to make the rounds here in this first game. 4-1 is that score, but again, still the gold lead in favor of Stormwolves. And the majority of that is in the hands of the carries.
Again, I was really surprised not to see Top take away that kill. And now that Cletus is a kill up, has 2 assists. He may not be on his mythic yet, but he should have a good chance to dive back into it and be able to match lane with Volley as soon as he does that. The top lane surprisingly more action-packed than you think it would be, especially with the fact that we don't see Volibear coming out that often in pro play.
Yeah, it's a bit a bit weak in some matchups, I will have to admit. As much as he is a really cool champion design, the itemization is a little bit lacking and leaves a bit to be desired, but still pushing in this lane and stacking up that heartsteel quite well.
So along with that as well, a lot of these items have received changes, which are really important to point out. So Triforce has found itself a sort of general buff on top of that. All of the Forge Go coming in for this fight though.
I have to interrupt you though, TP in towards the top lane and they just eviscerate top. Cataclysm as well, but you're trapped in there with them. And that's just going to be another kill on the board for Cletus. Unstoppable Onslaught, and Driller tries to find the engage, but Dark has stacked up that lethal tempo and forces them up towards their second tower, but not all lost, as Lockster will pick up that first tower of the game, and just showing the power of an unchecked Xayah.
Dude, I got flashbacks to horror movies when you said they're trapped in there with... Sorry, he's trapped in there with them as well. How awful is that? Tempest Cataclysms, and he can't find his way out, and instead trapped with two of his worst nightmares to be in there with. So, what I wanted to point out as well in the meantime is we've seen a lot of changes to items like Divine Sunderer, where they do a little bit less damage, but Gore Drinker as well is one of the items that has received a change, where because of... It kind of just hasn't been picked as much as other items. So, they tried to drop the gold cost, making it a bit more accessible. But the main change we saw, which I wouldn't say is that impactful, but certainly does make some change, is the fact that we see the Mythic passive, which is the fact that Mythic items give every single other item, legendary item that you have, will give you an extra bonus, is for every legendary item you have, you'll have an extra 75 health instead of 50 here.
Quite impactful to say the least, especially on someone like this Jarvan, who is sort of a hybrid tank. Doesn't build full tank, doesn't build full damage, somewhere in between. It's going to be interesting to see, you know, especially with this Moss Stomper and now the final smites being picked up for both of these junglers, just how tanky this Jarvan can really be. And if Tempest can survive Karina in that dive attempt like we saw up in top lane, could potentially be, you know, a game deciding moment. There is a little bit of a pause to come in. I believe Dark has a bit of a disconnect, but hopefully we'll be back shortly.
Well, hey man, it wouldn't be an OCE game without it.
Yeah.
Now we're...
Can't say it's not uncommon.
As Latte put it, the internet gank coming through. Look, I actually did hear some rumors about Stormwolves. They are employing some sneaky strats, like hiring the local electrician to cut the Wi-Fi of Dark. Hopefully these rumors aren't true. Hopefully, maybe we can get some confirmation from some of our higher-ups about whether or not this kind of foul play is allowed, or maybe it is something that it is in the competition rules. So, broadcaster, please check the rules and let us know.
Yeah, a little bit of a sneaky move there, you'd have to say, as just posturing for the time being. Dragon is about to start up here. Love to see exactly how we can do things, but looks like there is a bit of a freeze on the board here. Now, back, it looks like towards mid lane, fight is brewing. Cletus has that ult, has the perfect line to hit so many people here if they decide to pull that trigger. Lockster is in mid lane. This is a 4v5, and the Call of the Forge God is going to hit on towards one. The Fear from Hecarim lands, the Cataclysm as well, dumping so much CC and damage into this fight, but only one kill so far. Dark is excited and he just can't fight it. Top running for the hills. The blast cone won't be enough. The double kill secured for Dark. 9-1 on the scoreboard, and the second Drake secured for the side of STARCASTERS.
Hey, do you mind like working with me here and just tell me, did you see the STARCASTERS taking any damage there? Hey, because I sure didn't.
Yeah, with Cletus on this front line, very, very tanky. Lockster, Featherstorm might be able to find something, has to force them off, but doesn't even get the chance to pull things back in there as Dark finds another kill. That's 3 in the fight, has so much gold left standing. They're going to be able to get this dragon and hopefully get out in time as another disconnect there. This time for Stormwolves, as it looks like both teams are paying that electrician.
Yeah, man, look, often underhanded strategy we see happening a lot in Iron to Plat. It is an unfortunate thing, but hopefully we tried talking to the local electric companies to not do this, but sometimes the paycheck is just a little bit too sweet. I think it's really good that we had a chance to point out the fact that we didn't see STARCASTERS take any damage in that fight. Not only did Dark and Easy Life do a really good job at staying out of the fight, or sorry, not out of the fight, outside the effective range of most of the Stormwolves. Also, because of the pause, sometimes there are occasional lags, just as we get into it, in case anyone was wondering. We do see champions like Jinx being backed up really well by the Milio. And because of that, we saw her using her rockets for a majority of the fight because she had to keep away with so much room. The Hecarim, the Volley Bear, any of them get on her. Even the Syndra with the stun and Rakan with his dash. There's so much lockdown, like I said, a big, strong dive composition, that if Jinx tries to get into the fight, she's in trouble. But with the peel coming from the 3 other non-damage carries, which is Ornn, Jarvan, and Milio, then it kind of just makes the game really, really easy for the 2 people who are trying to dish out the damage.
Yeah, absolutely. As we pan towards this top lane, Cletus 2 levels ahead now. We saw how far behind they were in that early game. Unspoken Parasite now completed, starting to stack up those Ornn items. There's a little bit of a trade to come through, but nothing too major just yet. We can see a fair amount of vision control towards this top side, and even throughout the entire jungle here. A number of wards across the board here for Stormwolves. They're not out of this just yet, even though the kills are predominantly in favor of STARCASTERS, as item completions come through once more. Navori on the board here for Lockster. The push once again towards mid lane looks to be likely. There's a few more minutes until that dragon comes up.
Now, as mentioned earlier, we do see the Storm Razor being picked up by both of the ADCs, as well as a cheeky little pair of Xerkies. Important to point out here as well, though, that the Xayah has decided to pick up Navori, which is normally built on a Xayah, but now that it's a Mythic, it is going to be the one she's going to have to opt towards. Navori, of course, reducing cooldowns of your abilities based on your auto attacks and a whole bunch of other crazy factors. So Xayah being able to shoot out more of her feathers more frequently and pull them back is one of the reasons that we saw Navori being changed into a Mythic. Really, really strong. And the fact that Dark actually hasn't managed to climb their way onto a Mythic just yet is a little bit surprising to me. Now looking at build into a Zeal item, tower, under contention, not going to be fought. Shirelia's on both of the supports.
And you can already see that brittle damage beginning to stack up there for Cletus. I mean, you know, we joke about Ornn being the mage, assassin, bruiser, tank, enchanter, whatever, but at this point in the game, practically unkillable. Even if there's 5 people, going to take a long time to take down this singular champion, and that just leaves Dark and Easy Life so much time to free hit. As we see solo laners towards the outskirts of this map for the time being. Karina could be in so much trouble. That's just going to be the solo kill there, and showing off the power of that Rylai's and that tick. The venom just seeping into Karina's veins.
Yeah, the Roa actually lowered up during the fight as well, which is really funny. So seeing that big kill, that big level up being taken down by Easy Life, puts him in such a good position and shows the kind of control that STARCASTERS have over this game. It's really, really important to point out that when you are ahead, taking big, crazy team fights isn't particularly your motive. Because there's one big difference in this scoreboard that isn't related to items or kills or deaths. That is on both sides. Well, sorry, only one side has it and the other side doesn't. And that is bounties. Taking fights most of the time, and even losing 1 or 2 people or going even, is consequential for the Stormcasters as they finally find themselves here in a brief bit of combat.
Yes, Stormbringer going to force Pop to safety, still over, or just under half health rather. Does force him off for the time being. Not too much used in that engage just yet though, just the flag and drag, which should be off cooldown. Less than a minute until this dragon. You have to imagine STARCASTERS probably going to fight for that, but the Cataclysm going to come on in. The Super Mega Death Rocket as well. They're pouring everything into this chokehold, and that's 2 kills off the board. A third going to land. And they're all going to the Ornn 5-0. The Giga Chad has arrived.
Man, how good of a combo is that? You see the Cassiopeia lock them to the ground, followed up by the Cataclysm, and then all you need is Cletus to come in through with the Ornn Horn, keep everybody else, knock them up, and then you got Dark and Easy Life to just clean them up. Again, I was just mentioning before, as they decide to whittle down this Baron, is when you are very ahead in the game, taking senseless fights is not something you want to do. But when you are very ahead in the game, you are so in control to the point that you can force fights to be where you want, rather than just senselessly fighting ARAM non-stop again and again and again. You go Baron, you kill them, you take the Baron, and now you get to split up, split push, and take all the towers to pick up a bunch of bonus gold. Really, really well played. Really sensible from STARCASTERS here.
Yeah, and now they have that 6k gold lead, which means that the objective bounties will be online here. If they can just find one of those kills on towards Dark, on towards Easy Life, who knows, maybe that can make the difference and really begin the comeback. Because again, 14-1 is the scoreline. It looks bad, but they can potentially win these fights, right? Syndra, Xayah, they are incredibly powerful if left unchecked. Especially with this dragon, if it isn't going to be contested, which it might be now that Cletus has that ultimate up and immediately uses it. Unstoppable Force, the Scatter of the Weak is going to miss, an Easy Life will live for the moment, as it will be the kill on towards Redimus. This could be the fight that Stormwolves are looking for. Look at Dark, the positioning is nowhere near this fight. It's going to be the 3v4 here, as Driller forces Easy Life off for the time being, dominating 6 kills on this Ornn, but a huge Scatter of the Weak is enough. Could potentially turn things back though, as the Jinx has arrived and Cletus is holding their ground. This is incredible, the tankiness that this champion provides, as Dark in so much trouble now, but another kill over towards this Ornn. And despite 3 kills going over towards the side of Stormwolves, it's an even fight overall.
Dude, what on earth just happened? We saw Dark not being present for the fight, as the dragon was attempted to be contested, securely taken away here by the STARCASTERS, as, again, Dark wasn't in the fight. Easy Life made a really, really good effort, and everyone did a great job appealing him, but there just wasn't enough damage coming through to try and get their 500 Heartsteel stack Volibear off, as well as a lot of pressure coming out from Hecarim, even though he did die first. Now, they're looking straight back towards the bottom river for another fight.
Well, they're going to double down on this as Redimus falls once again. This is deja vu. Cletus living forever, as Karina, who hasn't backed yet since that last fight, will just fall on down. And that's 3 kills, looking for a 4th. Jinx is excited once more. And just like that, the fight is won. Top, nowhere to be seen. The dragon going to be secured 22-5. And a 7k gold lead going into what should be a push towards this mid lane.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you what happens when you have your AD carry in the fight and they don't die. I saw Dark in the previous fight, where we saw a lot of casualties being taken by the STARCASTERS, where Dark actually mispositioned and the volley got on top of him a lot quicker than he thought he would. Had to flash away, but put himself in a very precarious scenario, where if he died, I mean, the fight would have been over, they would have picked up the dragon. But regardless, Dark improved on his positioning there, found himself in a wonderful spot. And look, man, when you have 2 people who dish out a crazy amount of damage on 6 kills and 5 kills respectively, with a fully stacked Roa and then a Gale Force now upgraded by Ornn in the hands of a Jinx, it is bloody dangerous.
Yeah, that's 3 upgrades now on the board for this Ornn. That's an extra 400 health, 49 armor, and 22 MR just for free. Just for really existing. And those bonuses are going to be amplified even more with every single one of these mythics that comes online as the levels begin to stack, as more and more grasp procs begin to come through. This Ornn, 8-0-11, has more kills than the carries. This is just an incredible display of the power of this Ornn. Now with a Thornmail in hand, I do not see a world where this Ornn dies.
Really interested to see the more come out here from Tempest as well. Looking to resist a lot of spells. Again, that is... Oh, hold on. They're looking for top here.
Yeah, top could be in a bit of trouble. Saves the Stormbringer, but will potentially fall on down as the ground is there and a bit too over-aggressive there. Maybe expecting the team to back him up, but I don't know. I feel like you immediately go away instead of, waiting things out there, as Tempest might have just found another Locks to Falls godlike for Dark. Going to be forced off for the time being as the Super Mega Death Rocket almost lives up to its name. They're pushing on the inhibitor's doors at 28 minutes. Mid's already gone, and this could be the final push of the game.
Wouldn't be surprised to see it. A really great game coming out from the STARCASTERS, 24-5, with the staggering 10,000 gold difference. As they realize they won't be able to take the base just yet, as everyone's coming back online. But the build paths certainly are not mocking the enemy team. They're staying in the game, and they're taking this very seriously. I wanted to point out the Maw coming out, which is an interesting item I don't see built that much on Jarvan. And now that it's being brought out, obviously the way Maw works is when you get dropped below 30% health, you gain a big-ass magic shield. Maw did receive a change in the most recent patch, where it got like 100 gold cheaper, which obviously feels like it doesn't do much for an item that's built much later in the game. But the cooldown for the shield has gone from 75 to 90 seconds, and the duration of the shield has halved. So, it got like 100 gold cheaper and got a little bit by a whole lot worse.
I mean, I do still like it, especially against that burst that, the Syndra does provide. I mean, you've already got the steel, what is it, steel caps, I forget the rename, the Tabby, on that build. So, I mean, it's going to reduce the damage of both of these carries here for the side of Stormwolves, as the Baron is easily secured for the side of StarCasters, and this could just be the funeral run here. Top pushing in the bot lane will get that tier 2 tower, and has sort of been a bit of a standout in this first game, was getting a lot of those early advantages in top lane, but just wasn't able to transition it in towards the mid and late game. Cletus just way too powerful on this Ornn. You can already see that is a chunky boy. 5k max health for the Ornn here.
Ew.
Baron empowered minions pushing on towards the Nexus towers already, and they're just waiting for mid lane to push on in. Stun's gonna land, but not too much damage across the board here. Does more with a single Q on towards top there. The damage over time, so incredibly powerful here. As for the engage, could be in a bit of trouble. Call of Forge God going to land, but that's just be Driller falling on down. Top as well, looking for something. Quickness in towards the back line, but it's not enough. There's no follow-up to work with. And just like that, 4 for 0 in the team fight. Make it 5 for 0 as Karina likely going to fall on the Nexus doors. The Super Mega Death Rocket finishing that one off. 29-5 in 31 minutes. What a game to start things off.
Wow, at the end there as well, we saw Hecarim make his best attempt to dive onto the Jinx. Even though she has Gale Force, she doesn't even use it to get away because she's so fast with Storm Razor, and just the ability to peel is so gross. She even had a stopwatch in her hand that she didn't have to use. So, a really fantastic game out from the StarCasters, where they pretty much set themselves up at the start of the game to pick up some early kills. We saw that happen in the top lane. We saw it happen in the mid lane, where we saw Easy Life pick up a whole bunch of kills. And from there, really well spread across the map for Easy Life to absolutely put Dark ahead, and then they absolutely sweep the game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the damage charts right now. Ornn, 27,000 damage. The second highest in the game after Dark on this Jinx with 29,000. Incredible across the board. There were a few slippery moments like that fight around the dragon, but other than that, clean sailing the whole way through. And who knows, hopefully they can show up in game 2 here for Stormwolves and bring us to that third and final game of the night. But what an incredible start to the series. A clean showing and proving to us why they deserve to be in this playoffs.
Absolutely. I think both of these guys are going to put on a really good show. But StarCasters right now, that is a big stomp. that they just showed off. So Stormwolves, mate, they're going to have to go back to their little huddle. They're going to have to figure out some crazy stats, or else if they try to run this game like they did the last, then STARCASTERS are going to steamroll them.
Yeah, absolutely is. I believe we're going to head to a little bit of a break before game number 2. Give these teams a bit of time to rejuvenate, you know, especially go back to the drawing board like you were mentioning there for Stormwolves. But STARCASTERS looking to keep that momentum in full swing going in towards game number 2. So don't go anywhere.
I'm running away from the past I left behind. I'm looking for